Okay, so once again, I wanted to kind of go over sort of the plot and outline and ideas that I had with the original novel. And what I like about this, and I'm keeping it with the second story as well, is I like seeing how the plot changes as I'm writing the story because I'll start writing something and I'll look at the outline and I'm like, I think it could be better if it was more like this. Or I forgot to add in that, but that's okay. Um, and I'm just gonna kind of do these in like sections. So I'm just gonna go through the first three stories, then four through six, and then seven through nine, and that's why I'm thinking about doing this. Um, I also don't have a lot of time on my hands right now. I've been just kind of busy in my life, and my main focus is just to write the novels, to write the novel. Um, and rather, oh, how do I say this? And kind of put the YouTube videos kind of like on the back burner because I've got other things in my life kind of going on right now, and writing the second novel takes priority. And not only that, there's other things I want to do outside of work and outside of writing. I like doing different hobbies. I like going on like trips to the zoo or the aquarium or going like hiking. And so I don't want to sit like at a desk all day. So I'm just trying to plan my time wisely. So if it takes a while for me to kind of upload these videos, that's why. But anyway, let's get started. So the very first one, and I'm highlighting all of these in red, is this section right here is before Kate can turn into Furrytail. Um, and in that part of the novel, it's not before Kate can turn into Furrytail. It's more Kate is worried about revealing her identity. And so when she realizes that at this point in time, Vesa isn't that much of a threat and that she can just take her down really easily, there's no need for her to turn into Furrytail and risk her true identity. Um, and that's why that happens. And let me see. Oh, and down here, yeah, that was another part of it. Kate gets her butt kicked. Well, not gets her butt kicked in that scene, but she gets caught. And so she's unable to kind of sneak back to Emma. And what I liked about this scene is Vesa was supposed to be a lot more like brutal. When I first started writing the novel, she was supposed to be more of like a stereotypical crime lord. But I like the idea of kind of starting the novel more lighthearted and then having it get darker as the story kind of progressed. And so Vesa is one of the villains, one of the very first villains that we meet, that is much more, how do I say it? I guess not morally dark. Um, which I find this very interesting because Vesa, she's just a victim of like being robbed. So she just wants justice. And so she's fighting back against that. She's normally not a criminal and she cares about other people. In the novel, Vessa's repeatedly told people, hey, don't hurt other people unless we absolutely have to. Be nice, be gentle. I just want my stuff back. And that's what's basically going on. And I really like that because it shows her more human side. Um, I mean, comparing her to someone like Victor is it's completely different. But yeah, that was my thoughts. Oh, this one's a big one. Originally Henry was supposed to notice Kate transforming into Furrytail, and that one was gonna have a really big impact on the rest of the novel if that happened, because Kate would automatically gain a very powerful ally, especially since Henry is a spellcaster. Um, and I don't know why I got rid of it. I think at that point it was more. I was thinking that maybe it would have been better to have Henry realize that Kate can transform into Furry Tail later. Um, Maybe it's because there was too much stuff going on. I I'm really not quite sure, but I think those were the two main ideas. Um, oh, that's another thing is that Zach um was going to be the primary reason for why a lot of the guards at the museum were going to be distracted. And I got rid of that idea because I realized that Vesa would probably be the one who would be interacting with Zack, and meaning that the rest of her guards would probably not be as distracted. And so I had Emma kind of start the museum's alarm just so that it would be easier for Kate to kind of reach the mayor and get him out of danger. Because there isn't really much Zack can do to kind of distract all the guards in the sorry, not guards, criminals in the museum, and so that was the reason for the change. Um, Another thing you probably noticed is that Vesa, just normally this, in my notes, it's a lot of Vesha. I don't remember putting her down as Vesha, but I guess that was Vesa's original name. Um, I have mixed feelings about that because I don't think it sounds as good as Vesa. But another thing that I've noticed, and I've had a couple people talk to my writing, is that they kind of get confused when there's multiple characters with the same, with like similar lettering, especially if there's a letter at the beginning of their name, um, that just kind of throws them off a little bit, and so people have told me that they kind of get confused between Vesa and Vanessa is a really big one. Um, a little bit with Vesa and Victor because they're both um, 5 or 6 letters and they both start with V's. And so that's something that I'm aware of. I'm trying to kind of prevent that. Let me see. Yeah, this one was another one where it wasn't planned. There aren't supposed to be any hints of who Victor was. Um, and this is because when I first started writing the novel, I still had the idea that it would be 9 different stories. Um, and then around as I am finishing story 1, that's when I realized, oh hey, I need to do an overarching antagonist. I think it would blend better if I did, and that's where it came into um, kind of fruition is the whole idea of seeing things from Victor's point of view and having that be at the end of these stories. And I like that because it helps the audience kind of see things through Victor's eyes. through his mindset. To kind of understand his personality a lot more and to realize that he's not a passive antagonist. He's very, very aggressive and very, very active. And that's one thing I really like about Victor is he's constantly working on something. Okay, story two. Um, oh, okay. Okay. Victor was not supposed to be revealed as Kate's sister. Um, I wasn't planning on him even showing up to the secret meeting. Where I would just be like, oh, he's late and he can't show up. But I couldn't get out of my mind that he just kind of needed to show up in that scene, and I'm glad I did because that when he shows up, it kind of sets all the rest of the novel um, in action, especially with he just starts working on different things. He starts figuring out, is this really my sister? What is her secret identity? What are my future plans regarding this sort of information? How can I keep myself entertained? And so that's one thing that kind of threw me for a loop is I was not planning on Victor showing up in that meeting. Kate was just supposed to have this mysterious, okay, there's a supervillain known as the Hound that is interested in me, and I'm not really quite sure why. And then, I don't know, a story or two later, then Victor would kind of show up in the novel. And that was the idea, and I'm glad I did it like that. With him showing up early because it makes him a lot more active and it makes things a little bit more exciting. I forgot that I had written down that Kate's real name is Caitlin Wolfsbane. I changed it to Catherine because I realized that that would be such a stupid fake identity is to just kind of get rid of these four letters and be like, okay, I'm a brand new person now. No, if you're changing your identity, you need to change your first name. I think when I was writing this plot, I was just kind of at a loss for what should Kate's real name be because I was like, oh yeah, she ran away. She wouldn't stay with the same name, and so that was just kind of my rough draft sort of idea for the name. So originally, the Hound, Victor, when he was first created, he was supposed to try and like learn Furrytail's battle behavior. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized he doesn't need it. He grew up with Kate. He knows how she reacts, how she fights in battle, and so he doesn't really need to learn that. Not only that, Kate has been around as Furrytail for the last 2 decades. There's plenty of resources for him to learn how her battle behavior has changed and how it has stayed the same throughout the years. And so I just kind of got rid of that sort of idea of Victor wanting to learn that. He just didn't need to. All right. So the third story, um, this one's kind of minor. So before Kate enters the tunnel, um, Kate was supposed to call Emma and Zach to see if they know anything about huge insects. I was originally gonna have MS be like, oh yeah, we've noticed it like at school, they've been happening all over the city, but we're not really quite sure why. And I got rid of that idea because I'm like, it kind of ruins the mystery, and I don't really like that. Especially since Kate calls Zach like 5 minutes after she enters the tunnel and fights an actual gigantic insect. And so there's just no real reason to have Kate call Emma and Zach before the tunnel. Especially since it seemed like Kate had never even heard about the giant insect so far, and it's a pretty big deal. If there's a city that has gigantic insects in its sewers, and if another group, rather than the fan club, had learned about it previously, Kate would have probably learned about it to that point. I mean, news travels fast, especially when it comes to something potentially dangerous. So that's why I kind of got rid of it. This one's a big one. That dream sequence with Victor trying to convince Kate to take a bully's life was not in the plot. That was just kind of a last minute add when I'm going through chapter 3 because I'm like, this chapter is kind of short. And not only that, I kind of want to build a more of a connection between Victor and Kate. Um, but it wasn't supposed to be as big of a deal as it is now because a lot of that scene shows Victor's personality. It shows how he's trying to groom another human being. It shows just the sort of crap that Kate was introduced, just growing up. Is the first time the audience ever learns about Shadowclaw, and what I like about that scene is it shows Shadowclaw in a very good light. She is protecting Kate, and that's what I wanted. Is I wanted a good introduction for my protector alter before she starts doing more violent behavior, and then Kate has to kind of calm her down. Um, and then what was another big part of it? Oh, the no killing and the I don't want guns. So that was another big one because it was kind of hinted at in the second story is that Kate really does not like guns, and she really does not like the idea of someone getting killed. Um, she's very pushing back against that idea, and part of the reason for that is because I wanted a villain that would not kill, but I wanted it to be something more unique than just it's wrong. I wanted it to be more personal to them. And so when Kate says, I don't want to kill, I don't want to use a gun, it's not that it's, oh, it's wrong. It's, I don't want to be like my family because that's what my family did. And so that sort of idea has kind of been pushed, especially in the second novel, where Victor is wanting Kate to kill him. And he wants her to use the exact same gun that she basically tossed on the ground and says, no, I'm not going to be like you at all. And he basically hands it to her and says, it doesn't matter what you want. You're going to do it anyway. And so he is attacking her identity in the second novel. He's not trying to break her spirit. He's trying to attack who she is on a fundamental level. And so that's just been very interesting and very fun to just kind of try out that balance and kind of test something new with Victor, because in the first novel, a lot of it is I want to be entertained, I'm curious, and I want to push my sister to her limits. And at the end of the novel, it shoots, it basically shoots Victor in the foot, where he's like, I don't want to push her that far, and so he starts pushing her in a different direction. Instead of breaking her mentally, he says he wants to break her morally. And so he's pushing on these different limits with Kate. So he's not doing the exact same thing over and over again. He's always trying to do something new, which I love. Um, Down here. So this one I changed because I didn't think I didn't think Insectoid would ever see the Furry Tail fan club as an actual like threat, or would really get revenge for ruining his hiding spot. I just don't think he would really care, and so I changed it where how it is in the novel, where the fan club basically um, interrupts one of his meetings and kind of pushes back against him, and then that's why he kidnaps the kids. Um, so that was a pretty big difference. What else do I have? Okay, so that's it for this video. And the future videos, it's probably going to be a bit longer because I kept some of my older notes, and it's when things start changing quite a bit. Like, I'll show you in story 4 really quick. So I changed this, I changed that, I changed that, and then this is the big one. I changed chapters 7, 8, and 9. Sorry, chapters 6, 7, and 8 completely from what they were supposed to be in the novel. And I got rid of chapter 9 because there's only supposed to be 8 chapters, I've decided, in every single story. I didn't go back through stories 1 through 2 to kind of change the chapter setup like that. But it's when I start kind of going forward in that, where every episode just has 8 chapters. It kind of keeps me, um, just kind of keeps everything sort of like fair and equal, I feel like. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about for today.